Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Transcend the podcast. As always, I am so grateful that you are here with me today. So, on today's episode, I'm going to be talking about getting visible. You need to get visible because people need to see you. This whole month of February, if you're listening in the month of February, is all about getting your message and your story and your visibility out there so people can find you. Because if they can't find you, or if you're not out there, people can't give you any money for the service or the product that you provide. So the two do go hand in hand. Now, I can tell you from personal experience that being super visible is kind of uncomfortable sometimes. I mean, I guess let me clarify. I don't have a problem leading a group of people. I don't have a problem, standing up and speaking in front of a large crowd, even though I know that's like people's number one fear. I don't have a problem teaching and standing before a classroom. But what I do struggle with internally is putting my own product out there and saying, hey, I know enough. Listen to me. I can really help you, which is kind of counterintuitive, or maybe kind of ironic considering I love teaching, right? But there's something that is super vulnerable for me about saying, hey, I'm the one who created this method. I'm the one who can lead you, as opposed to teaching something that somebody else has already done. And where does that come from? It comes from not really a fear of being seen, but like, what if I mess up? What if I say the wrong thing? What if I don't do it right? Or what if somebody else does it better? It's really about being comfortable or not being comfortable with making those mistakes. And let me tell you, as an attorney, mistakes are not allowed at all. I mean, we're taught from day one of law school that you've got to be right, which is why some attorneys are really challenging to work with, especially in our personal lives. Not me though. I'm great to work with and I'm got great relationships, but just as a general rule, attorneys can be definitely challenging. It's also, we have the state bar and the ethics committee that is behind us or in front of us or somewhere near us, so that if we mess up on something and it's determined that we didn't use the required skill and knowledge of an attorney who should be taking on a case in that area, then we get in trouble. So it's not like, Joe Blow out there who's like, yeah, I can help you form your business, and Joe Blow has no training and then they mess up, then sorry, you shouldn't have trusted Joe Blow. But if I do something as an attorney and I mess up on it, I'm going to be compared to every other attorney that has an expertise in that area, and it puts my license at risk. So all of that training years ago when I went to law school and just being an attorney for the last 11, 12 years has really made it more challenging for me as an entrepreneur to put myself out there because, full transparency, what if I mess up? What if I'm wrong? What if somebody takes my advice the wrong way? I meant it for this kind of a situation and they didn't tell me all the information. They're applying it to a situation where I wouldn't have given them that advice. All of those things oftentimes make it hard for me to show up and to speak out loudly and to say, hey, come and work with me. All of those things are also in my head and are not actually true, right? I know what I'm talking about. I know I've gone to school, I've put into practice, I do research all the time. I know what I'm talking about. So, this fear that I'm going to get it wrong is actually kind of irrational, even though it's still there. So, these are some of the reasons why it may be hard for you to show up. One of the challenges that I have been tasked with right now with another group I'm in is to show up live on social media, whether that's Facebook or Instagram or something else. And you're listening to this podcast, I have no problem showing up on the podcast. I have no problem making videos, instructional videos, and things like this. But for some reason, showing up live, it like on Instagram live, it's just like, Gah! And I've made all of these reasons why not. Like, I don't want social media to take over my life. Gosh, I'm doing all these other things. Is it really necessary for me to show up live? I have all these reasons why. Instead of just like doing it on a regular basis and trying it and seeing what happens, I'm telling myself, no, 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 I don't need to do that, right? And I'm digging into what is that fear for me. And I think it goes back to what I already explained. Live, I can't edit live. What if I make a mistake, right? There's also something about me that I love answering questions, but for me to just kind of tell you what I think you should know, there's some insecurity about that for me because I don't know what you're thinking. Now, as a business owner, I'm supposed to know exactly what my ideal client is thinking, but there's this block like, I don't know. Ask me a question, I got you. Love to answer. But if I'm just like, well, what do people need to know? I'm like, people aren't really interested in that. And then I start, just taking myself out of the race. So, Don't be like me. But if you are like me and you're having trouble showing up and being visible, you are obviously not alone, because I'm right there with you. And there are tons of other people who are right there with you as well. Now, this is something that is probably much more present for women, for people of color, for non binary folks, for anybody who is outside of the traditional norm, right, of what it means, because we have been told multiple times throughout our lives that we are not normal. I just recorded a podcast a little bit earlier with someone talking about authenticity and showing up as being authentic. But sometimes when you're going through your own identity change, and an identity change is becoming an entrepreneur, how do you know what is authentic to you right now? How do you know what showing up as you in this new space really looks like? And the thing is that it's going to change. It's going to grow. It's going to evolve. You are changing. Your business is changing. The world is changing. What was authentic for you last month may not be authentic for you this month. I used to really take pride in myself for not so much being busy, but for having stuff to do. Like, that felt really good to have all these different obligations, because it felt like I was needed in different places. That was authentic at that time. Now I'm like, I don't want to be needed in hardly any place, right? So instead of taking on all these assignments and jobs and things like that where I'm perfectly capable of doing it, I'm saying no, I don't want to do it anymore, because my inner self has changed, and that is no longer an authentic expression of me to say yes to all these different commitments. So we change. We are humans. We grow and evolve. And I want you to be patient with yourself as you grow and evolve, because there is no shame in changing at all. And it doesn't mean you got it wrong. And it doesn't mean that last week you were wrong and this week you're right. It just means that you are human. And in my experience, nothing ever stays the same. The only constant we have in life is change itself, and that changes, right? So showing up can certainly be hard. Visibility can certainly be hard because of all of these stories that we have running in our head behind the scenes. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that. Why is it hard? Well, our brains are hardwired to keep us safe. We have these, people say, our lizard brains, right? Because they were designed to keep us safe. And as smart as we are and as creative as we are, the base instincts that we have really have not evolved over the last few thousand years to take us to the next level. So our brains, again, are hardwired to keep us safe. And what is safe for us? Our cocoon, the things that we do on a regular basis that have been tried and true and tested, are safe for us. So when we want to break out of the norm, our brains subconsciously are like, that's not safe. If I decide I'm going to deviate on the normal path that I walk every day, it's going to feel like it's so long, like I should turn around, like I should do something different, because it's new. And newness in our brain screams unsafe. If I am used to writing emails or talking with my clients one on one, but now I'm being asked to show up live on video, there's nothing inherently dangerous about showing up live on video. Like, I'm not going to die from being on video. I'm not going to, suffer some bodily harm from being on video, but it's new. It's a deviation from what my standard practice is. And then that means it is unsafe for me in my brain. And so my brain is going to give me all of these reasons why I should not show up live on video. I might make a mistake. What if no one's watching? What if someone asks a question that I don't know how to answer, right? That's my brain's subconscious way of keeping me safe. So, my question to you is, when you meet some resistance in your life about being more visible, about showing up to things, about putting yourself out there, about posting on social media. Maybe it's not social media, about running an ad, about creating an email list. Wherever you have that resistance, I want you to just kind of step back, take a deep breath, and feel into, what is it? You have the things that you're saying about why you're not going to be able to do it, but really feel into, what is the emotion behind it. And I bet if you feel into that, you're going to discover that your brain is trying to keep you safe. So once you know that, how do you move through that? What I started doing when I feel that resistance, I'll get quiet, I'll lean into it, and then I'll literally talk to myself and say, all right, brain, thank you for trying to keep me safe. I understand that this is scary and this is different, but I'm actually safe. and I'm going to move forward anyway. Like I literally talk to myself like that. It feels kind of funny at first, but there's something about saying it out loud and just recognizing, acknowledging, giving credence to where you are in that moment that allows you to free yourself from that moment and to move forward. So next time you're feeling uncomfortable, there's some resistance, ask yourself, what is going on here? And then tell yourself, it's okay. It's okay to be a little bit nervous. It's okay to be a little bit scared, but actually, I'm safe. And because I'm safe, I'm going to do this anyway in the midst of this discomfort. Another thing to do is to set your goals and to make your action items, right? So you have your big picture goals, you have the steps, and then sometimes we start on the steps and that's great. And then somewhere in the middle, we'll often falter a little bit. And then the doubts start coming up and then we lose momentum, we lose steam. So what do? You take really small action steps that will get you there, things that you just can't mess up. Like if I decide that I'm going to record a podcast, right? I want to do all these things. Maybe the really easy action step is to brainstorm some ideas. And then I can look, I've done that. Then the next step after that is to practice recording. I've done that. And then get to the actual live recording, right? Do something that is really, really easy. Maybe if I want to learn how to podcast, I'm listening to podcasts that I'm interested in. Something that's easy, low stakes, and it's going to be really hard to tell yourself that you can't do this. If you're interested in writing more, maybe the big goal is that you want to write publish an article, but you're scared to do it. Like there's some resistance. I don't have time for this, I'll do it tomorrow. Maybe the really easy goal is to sit down for 5 minutes at your computer with a blank page and just see what comes out. There's no word count that you're trying to get to. There's no pressure to publish the whole article in one sitting. It's just sit at your computer and see what happens. Something that's really, really easy. The next thing that is really important is understanding you're not always going to be motivated. So when you're not always motivated, what's going to keep you there and is going to keep you showing up and staying visible is your discipline. It's those actions that you're going to take on a regular basis, regardless of whether you feel motivated or not. So, for example, for me, I know that I'm not always motivated to write emails to my list. So, what do? When I'm being disciplined, I write all the emails for the month ahead of time. And then that way, when I'm having a lull in the middle of the month and don't actually feel like reaching out, I've already written that email. It's already ready to go. I did it in a time when I was excited and motivated. And so that attitude and that voice comes through, and that saves me from having to do it when I have low energy or when I'm not quite feeling it. So, what can you do? What are the habits that you can do, right? I was talking to a friend of mine, another Transcend member, the other day, and she was talking about getting back into workouts. And she was struggling, making all these reasons why not. And she said she was just going to put on her running shoe, her workout shoes. So when she went to go drop off her nephew at school, she was already ready. So even if all she did was walk around the block twice, she didn't have to think about, well, these are not my workout shoes. Now I got to go home, right? She eliminated that barrier, or at least one of those barriers, and then was able to just walk around the park after she had taken care of her responsibilities because she put herself in a position to win. She put herself in a position to do it, eliminated one of the easy barriers by not having the right shoes. So, what is that thing that you're going to do? What is that structure that you can provide for yourself? Again, if you're writing, again, maybe it's setting an alarm and putting some time on your calendar for 5 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day. And even when you don't want to write, you're still going to show up, sit down, and give yourself the opportunity to see what happens. For me, as I'm telling you about this, thinking about going live on social media, I think I'm actually going to try Clubhouse for my live instead of Instagram. Today, I'm going to write the description of the group, and I'm going to make an appointment in my calendar every Friday at 11 a.m. for my Ask Asha sessions. I'm going to put it there and make sure that I do it, that I show up. Even if no one's there, I'm going to have a list of questions that I can talk to people about. I'm going to invite a couple people to join the room with me so that when people do show up, they'll know that there's content that's there that they can listen to. So even though I'm nervous about jumping on this new platform and wondering whether or not anyone's going to show up, whether it's going to be useful, I'm going to put those things in place by inviting a couple people, having the description ready, having a couple canned question and answers ready so that I can support myself through that process. So it's often you're not going to be motivated. Motivation doesn't last always. Like we look at people, we look at athletes and say like, "Oh, you must be so motivated." A lot of them will tell you, "Yeah, there's some motivation," but really what it is, it's discipline. It's doing the things even when you don't want to do, just showing up at the gym even when you don't feel like it, just sitting down at the computer, even when you don't feel like it, giving yourself the opportunity to see what happens. And if it doesn't work, if you get to the gym and you don't want to do the workout, that's fine. At least you showed up. You sit at the computer and no words come out. Excuse me, it's okay. At least you showed up, right? You gave yourself that opportunity. That is one of the ways to make your goals a little bit easier, is supporting yourself as you are going along the process. Because again, motivation isn't going to happen all the time. So, let me tell you a couple things. Clarity comes from action. Sometimes you just need to take the action to get clear, to see whether this actually is for you or it's not for you. In addition, confidence is built by taking action. You're not going to necessarily be confident right away, but the more repetitions you put in, the more you hone your skill and put yourself out there, you're going to develop the confidence because you're going to see that you're actually capable of doing what you set out to do. Okay. So, you just got to do it. You just got to do it, but you have to be gentle with yourself and support yourself as you get out there. So, if there are areas that you are looking at in your life where you need to be more visible, I want you to think about this podcast as you move forward. I want you to feel into those areas of discomfort and determine how you're going to support yourself when you're not feeling motivated, when you're not feeling comfortable, when you're not feeling super secure, because you're not going to feel secure all the time, but you do need to know how to move forward when it's time to take that action. So, I would love for you to share with me how you feel about this episode. Also, let me know what other kinds of topics you would like to see on this podcast, and you can leave them on my Instagram at Asha Wilkerson ESQ. In fact, if you would love to take a screenshot of listening to this podcast and tag me in it, leave your comments. I would truly, truly appreciate it. Don't forget to tune in next week as we continue to build our series on visibility and showing up. We'll be talking a little bit about branding and marketing. And I just love to support you. So thank you for listening, and I'll check you out next week.